All right, welcome everybody to the Agent Exit Strategy. Today I've got an awesome VIP guest on here today, Jon. Welcome to the show, Jon.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I just appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on here and talk about this. I think it's a very important thing that, not a lot of people are talking about. They can help a lot of lives, people's lives and their families' lives. So,
Well, it's changed my life, and it's my passion to help other people. I think it's crazy how few people take advantage of this amazing opportunity, and this industry is really not built to, help agents create an exit strategy. So I love the title of the show, and I'm passionate about the topic.
yeah, I've been scouring through all your social media channels. I don't know if you've noticed my stalker type liking that I've been doing, but all right, man. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself first, and I've got a couple questions to ask.
Yeah, for sure. So I was born in real estate. So my parents were in the business when I was a little kid, and I started passing out flyers on my rollerblades for 5 cents a house when I was like 7 years old. And then I got my friends to pass out flyers for me, gave them half the money, kept the other half, and that was my first like lemonade stand. That was my first business. And my dad got sick when I was about 10 and had to have a heart transplant, and knew his time was limited. And so really his retirement career was real estate. And I worked with them for a while, but my parents never really took it super seriously and didn't have enough to keep me busy when I got out of high school. So I got licensed right out of high school, and my mom kind of put flyers in everybody's mailbox at the Coldwell Banker to say, hey, who needs an assistant? Who can take this kid off my payroll? And so I ended up getting an opportunity with an agent whose business was just starting to rise. And I worked with him for 7 years. We sold ultra luxury high-end real estate, $5 to $50 million homes, and some really cool stuff. We sold Nicolas Cage's house for $35 million and a bunch of other record sales. And then I looked around after 7 years and said, I just feel like I'm the butler, the maid, the staff. I'm not living in these houses. None of these agents are living in these houses, and none of this is very fun. And I don't feel like I'm helping anybody. I'm just helping rich people trade assets. And so I decided to go out on my own, and I went to Coldwell Banker, where my stepdad was regional vice president at the time. And I started building my business. I got my first recruiting call from Keller Williams, who's actually my business partner, Meyer, and we built our RevShare group together, but he recruited me to KW. I got an opportunity to be a team leader at KW and run a branch. And I came to him eventually and I said, hey, is this an asset or a liability? We launched a brokerage at the time, my Keller Williams office. We got it to number 6 in Southern California region in our first year, recruited 230 agents. And I said, is this an asset or a liability? And he's like, it's an asset. And I was like, are you sure? And so we started talking about it. And I had my eye on eXp for a long time. And so we went off to look at our next opportunity. And we looked at every big brokerage on the planet. We actually got offers from some very big firms. We were very close to doing a deal with Douglas Elliman. And at the last minute, I said, let's look at eXp one more time. And we took a look at it. And when we compared our pro forma for what we were going to be able to do, we said, well, hey, if we attract 1,000 agents in this model, we're going to be way happier than if we attract 1,000 agents in this model. And nobody could compensate us what we felt like we were worth. Everyone was like, oh, well, you could make this or that. But if you hit your numbers, like you're going to make more than the president of the company. And I was like, well, what you pay the president of the company is none of my business, but I know my value. And so that was where the upside of having the exponential reach of eXp and being paid like an owner without shouldering any of that liability really became very attractive. And so we joined a little over 6 years ago. We attracted about 130 agents in our first year, and then grew it to over 300, and then so on and so forth. And I think I'm like one agent shy of 1,000 agents in my RevShare org today. And my partner Meyer, we did this together. He's got about 1,030 in his group.
That's awesome. Well, you just answered like 10 of my questions. That was a good introduction. So, what frustrated you the most, in the beginning, getting it started?
At eXp, building my RevShare group?
Yeah.
Dude, when you first join, it's all you. It's just you by yourself, and it's lonely, man. Like it was me and my partner, and then we brought in a couple of people early, but like it was small and it wasn't exciting. And we were working out of a Regus office because we get free Regus access. And honestly, we wanted to open up a physical location in all the major markets. We thought if we open up a physical eXp office, then that'll be the thing that agents come to. That's what's holding them back. Like that was our philosophy. And right before we started that plan, COVID hit.
Wow.
And so thank goodness we didn't open up those offices because we found out we didn't need it. But it's a really lonely thing, and it's a hard thing because you're coming into a new environment. You don't understand everything. You know, you need to be productive. You know, you need to have conversations. And a lot of people early on didn't want to talk to me at all. So these are people that were like close friends of mine. And I'd reach out and be like, hey, can we talk? And they'd be like, I won't even hear you out. And the hardest thing for me is I wanted to like run up to these people and like shake them by the shoulders and be like, dude, you're missing the opportunity here. And like, I didn't handle it very well. I felt like, unfortunately, I was immature and I felt like they owed me the conversation. And the reality is they didn't owe me anything. And I approached it the wrong way and I ended up burning some bridges and losing some relationships. So that was really, really hard at the beginning. But once we grew to about 25 to 50 agents, we started to have a lot more community. And then it was more fun because then you're building with other people, and building with other people is very exciting.
Yeah, thanks for opening it up like that. And, I love seeing people admit their mistakes, and owning that, you talking about that you weren't mature and, you burnt some bridges. A lot of people are uncomfortable talking about that and they're not willing to open up and talk about that. So thank you for saying that.
We're in a success, like we vomit success and everything, even when it's not true. But like, how many people are out there talking about like the failures that they had and then what they learned from that, right? And so what I learned from that is that, I need to take an approach of value, and I need to be patient, and I need to meet people where they are. And I was asking people to meet me where I was. I wasn't meeting them where they were. And that was a really hard lesson to learn, but very, very valuable in the long run.
What would you say is one of the biggest lies agents believe about building a downline?
I think agents think it's going to be a second job. I think they think I don't want to be a recruiter. I think they think recruiting is a bad thing. So they're like, I don't want to be a recruiter. I don't want a second job. I just want to sell houses. But then I always ask them like, well, what's the goal? And then they tell me, and it's like, well, are you any closer to your goal? How long have you been in real estate? So every agent, I was a broker manager for years before I came over. And so, yeah, you were too. And so I would talk to agents all the time, and we'd be like, okay, what's your goal? And how long have you been in real estate? And so I'm comfortable asking them these questions. And I would ask people, okay, how much passive income do you want? And they'd be like, what do you mean passive income? And then I'm like, well, what's your plan? They're like, well, I want to buy rentals. I'm like, okay, how much do you need to like live off of if you bought rentals? And they're like 10 grand a month. I'm like, cool. How long have you been in real estate? They're like 10 years. I'm like, how many rentals do you have? They're like 0. I'm like, so what's going to change here? Like, you've been doing this for 10 years. You need 10 grand. You're at 0. Something's got to give, man. So that's the thing. It's like, what's the point? Real estate agents are bad at saving, they're bad at investing, and they're bad at math. And so they end up being addicted to active income, and they end up working a very taxing business, mostly because they don't have good boundaries, they don't have good habits, and they have to prospect all the time in order to make ends meet. And that's not a great lifestyle.
Everything you just said should be like the poster for rev share and what agents need to hear, because it's everything that's in my mind that I've been thinking about. And going back to like something you said earlier when you first started, what you were most frustrated with, because obviously everybody experiences that, right, when they're first getting started. And for me, that's what's so frustrating. The most frustrating part for me is like knowing all of this information, but being able to download it onto somebody else. It's not as easy to. I say this all the time. I wish we could literally just like plug into each other's heads and transfer information and emotion and experience, so people could just instantly see and feel that.
So think about it like breaking a veil, right? Like the veil between heaven and earth, or like, right? So it's the curse of knowledge. You know what you know, and you want them to know what you know. And often you talk to them based on what you know, and they don't. And so it's like you're speaking the wrong language. And so I guess the question you have to ask yourself is, how did you first have that awakening? How did you come from what you knew, where you were, how you saw the world, to understanding that this was a viable and strong and important opportunity? And then how can you help people do that? So what was your experience? How did you cross over?
I think it was finally becoming a brokerage owner and experiencing that, and then realizing that the real estate landscape as far as brokerages go has changed so much. And it's not just changed so much, but I'm realizing that it's compounding on itself, just like AI. Like it's changing so rapidly and so fast. And so having that, you know, a waking moment of realize this isn't what I thought it was 8 years ago before I got my license, that I knew I wanted to get my broker's license and start a brokerage and bring something to the area that that didn't exist. And then I did it. But so much changed in that time and is changing even more rapidly now that I was just like, also the things that you said, right? And that we both know that's why we're sitting here talking about this is you can't outwork yourself. You can't outgrind yourself. Like that's the title of this whole show, the agent exit strategy is like, what is your exit and retirement plan? It's not selling houses. This is something I've been saying recently is there's nothing cool about being 60 plus and having to sell real estate. It's a different story if you don't have to, but you're doing it because you don't want to be bored and you want to get out of the house and have something to do. Like nothing wrong with that. But if you're doing it because you have to, and we see a lot of that, right? There's a lot of agents that are older and they're out here still having to grind and hustle. And like, there's nothing cool about that at all.
Well, it reminds me of that old joke, which is, what do you call a real estate agent's retirement party? A funeral.
Yeah.
And so like the industry is stacked against the agents because it was run by brokerages. So for years, right, we had to have a broker to sell houses, and the brokerages have no incentive to retire us. They don't want their salespeople to retire. And so they didn't build an exit strategy into the comp plan. And so they hope that we'll work forever and we'll pay them our 6% or our 10% or 20% or 50%, whatever the case may be. And why would they want to help us retire? And it wasn't really until, Gary Keller kind of started the idea with profit share, but it wasn't really till revenue share came out that there was a model that was powerful enough where that was actually becoming true. And that was one of the things that really appealed to me about this. Glenn said, hey, not only are we going to give them revenue share, we're going to give them stock. And I know people that have been retired, very well because the stock performed well. Like right now, the stock's really low, but guess what? Like, do you have enough real EXPI stock that if it went up to $40 a share, you could retire? Like, because if you don't, now's a great time to buy, right? Buy it when it's low. Like I know a lot of people that got a bunch of icon awards when the stock was, $6. When the stock went up to $60, $70, that was life-changing, right? We're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, not millions. So Glenn coupling the opportunity for ownership, real ownership, that was accessible to agents at all levels of production and economics, for passive income to be coming in and built through word of mouth referrals, through not having it be a second job, is very life-changing, very game-changing for the industry. And one of my greatest fears was always that I was going to be that agent that's like 80 years old trying to like drag a open house sign out to the corner with a big mallet, trying to pound it in and be like, man, if that's the case, like I've done something wrong. So this is, I'm sure glad that I took this opportunity 6 years ago when I did.
That's awesome, man. So I'm guessing that you're not in production anymore. Is that correct? Or maybe a little bit?
It's 99% correct. So I still have a real estate team. We still sell houses. My partner Missy is in process of closing a $10 million deal with actually one of our rev share partners. So they're up in NorCal and they have a family member who lives down here, and they put the house on the market even though they're not local. And my business partner ended up doing the deal. So it's all within eXp. It's all within the same rev share group, and it's this huge deal. And so, yeah, we sell in Orange County, but personally, I try not to go on appointments. These days I tend to mess things up. But I still coach. I'm still in it, right? So I still help agents with production. I still think of myself as a real estate agent at heart. I still like to talk contracts and sales. And because here's the thing, like 88% of the agents at eXp only sell houses. Only 12% take advantage of agent attraction. And if all the agents don't sell houses, then there is no revenue share. Revenue share is not Amway. It's not, boxes of oils in my garage. It's a referral fee. Revenue share is a referral fee that is paid from eXp on business that closes from agents you introduce to the company who pay into their cap. They pay eXp, and eXp gives us a small thank you.
I'm so glad you said that, because that addresses a big issue. And I know that's why you said that, is a lot of people think that rev share is some multi-level marketing or pyramid scheme thing. And while it may be structured in a tier-like way that makes you think of that. It's not in so many ways, because usually with multi-level marketing or pyramid schemes, you got to go buy a product, just to get in and sell. But there's nothing here to buy. It's you're a real estate agent. You're just coming over here to do the same thing that you've already been doing, and now there's this extra thing that you can add to, And it brings me to another thought of where a lot of people think when they hear rev share, or like trying to get other agents to come on board, they're like, nah, I don't want to do that. But most of them have, unknowingly, without thinking about it, brought on another agent to their brokerage. And did they benefit from that in any way? Probably not.
Maybe
Probably
a
not
gift
at all.
card, maybe a friend they got to work with at the office.
Yeah.
But, I always say, if you ate at a great restaurant, would you tell your friends about it? If you worked at a great brokerage, would you want to tell your friends about it? Like, I'm not asking you to do anything crazy. You already do this. Why not be compensated for it? It reminds me of this story. This girl named Jody Lynn Kim, she went to an open house one day. She works with Kyle Whistle, and she was just driving by, and who knows if she would have stopped by the open house if she didn't have revenue share. But because she did, she was like, you know what? I'll stop by. She talks to this guy for 5 minutes. She grabs his business card. His name's Mike. She goes back to the office. She gives the business card to Kyle, and she says, hey, I met this guy over the weekend. He was really nice. You should call him, see if he wants to come, work on our team or join eXp or whatever. So because of that 5-minute experience at the open house, Kyle called. The guy comes in. He ends up joining. Not only does he end up joining and being a top producer, and it changes his life in a very profound way, but he has a friend named Andy. And Andy and his dad owned a 65 agent brokerage in Fresno. And so they ended up joining. But they also have a friend who owns a brokerage. So another 40 agent brokerage joined. So Jody Lynn ended up with 110 people in her rev share organization because she had the incentive to stop by an open house one day and grab a business card and give it to Kyle. And that person ended up being like a sales director for Kyle and like all these other things, right? Kyle's the #1 team at eXp. So like, we're talking life-changing opportunity after life-changing opportunity because there's this synergy, there's this collaboration that doesn't happen if there's not skin in the game. When I was at my prior brokerage, like, I'm a giver. I love to give back. You were like, hey, be on my podcast. I was like, I'm in, right? No questions asked. I'm in. And the reality is I wasn't being compensated for all that I was doing. There was no comp plan for me giving back. And so at the end of the day, I had to make a choice. Am I going to feed my family and go sell houses? Am I going to get back to my office? Am I going to spend time with my friends? Am I going to spend time with my kids? Like, how am I going to spend my time? And guess which thing I couldn't prioritize? Giving back, because I wasn't compensated for it. But here, I am compensated extremely well for giving back to the industry. And so all of what I want to do is in alignment.
Yeah, I love that. That especially resonates with me because all of my life, that's all I've ever been taught. And I've watched my dad, give back to the community and help people, and expect nothing in return. But the reality of that is, one, yes, do stuff like that, right? If that's who you are and who you want to be. But to be able to give more and do more, like you have to be compensated for it because of what you just said. I mean, we all have families, we all have bills to pay, so it's not like this bad thing. It's just the reality of life, and especially now. I mean, look at not to get sidetracked, but look at how much gas is. Like the gas ain't free. Food's not free. What didn't work that a lot of people waste their time on when building a downline? Was there things that you wasted your time on?
That's a really good question. I think I learned from everything that I tried. I think what didn't work were things that didn't feel natural to me. So I coach, I'm probably the #1 real estate agent attraction coach in the industry. And I coach a lot of agents through this. And I tell them all, like, it's not learning a new skill set. You already know how to do this. So how do you build your sales business? If you're a marketer, if you send out postcards, then do marketing. If you are a social media person and you do reels and carousels, then do that. If you're a cold caller, then cold call. If you're a farmer, then farm. If you're a networker, then network. Like, take the thing that you already do well and adapt that, because we know open houses work, but they never worked for me because I didn't enjoy them. I didn't do them at a high level. I was never happy to be there. I was always a little disgruntled. So if you try and do a lead generation lever that doesn't work, then you're going to burn out. You're not going to enjoy it. It's going to feel like work and you're not going to do it. But if you do one that comes naturally to you, that you already have the skill set for, and you already do in your normal business, and you just translate that to agent attraction, then that's something that you could do forever. And this is a slow process. This is like gradually, then suddenly, right? So you have to be committed to the process, not the outcome. And I think that, the other biggest thing that I did that didn't work is we call it eXping on people. So it's where you go and you just dump on them with, oh, let me tell you all about it. Like, I had to learn how to ask good questions to find out what was important to someone so that I could be prescriptive. Diagnosis without, Diagnosis without something is practice. But basically, like, you can't prescribe something. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. That's what it is. So you can't prescribe something if you don't know what the problem is. I can't just be like, oh yeah, you gotta, you say you're in pain. Well, here's some Valium, or here's some, Vicodin, or here's whatever. Like, I gotta actually know what's wrong with you before I give you that thing. And so by being more curious and identifying what was important to people and knowing what we have to offer, then I could kind of marry the two, and that became much more effective.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I've never heard that quote, and I'm a big quote person, so I'm gonna start using that now. And it's so true. And along those lines, I guess there's a lot of malpractice going on in the actual medical world. I think about it because that's pretty much what they do.
And the real estate world too.
Yeah, man. What do what does growing a rev share, a downline, unlock long term that most agents just don't see yet? They don't get.
It's like investing in the stock market when you're in your 20s. So I think most agents think, oh, well, most people, right? This is a universal problem, I think. But we say, oh, well, investing $100 a month when I'm in my 20s doesn't matter. It's just $100. It's not a big deal. But if you do that consistently from the time you're 22, you're going to be a multimillionaire by the time you're 45 or 50 or whatever. And so it's this idea of compounding. So most people build businesses through addition. So we have a saying that if it doesn't multiply, it doesn't matter. And so most people are trying to add one more agent to their team, add one more sale to their year. But with revenue share, it multiplies. And so I was able to bring in, I brought in about an agent every other month. That was kind of my average. So I found a great partner every other month, 6 partners a year. And if I was taking 6 listings a year, I'd be the worst real estate agent on the planet. Like, nobody would want to hear from me. But because I found great agents, about half of them stayed. And of the half who stayed, about, 2/3 are in production. But me and those 16, 17, 18 agents, we built a group of 1,000 agents. And that's the multiplication piece of it that's really life-changing. And I put in a lot of work when I was young to be very intentional about this, right? When my kids were young. My son was 4 and my daughter had just been born. And now that my son is almost 11 and my daughter's 7, like, I'm with them all the time, right? I pick them up from school. I take them to school. I coach all their sports. I coach, 3 or 4 youth sports at any given time throughout the year. And I'm able to do that because I have this incredible leverage that I've gotten through revenue share because I built it back then. And now I'm seeing the dividends pay out now.
So you have a lot more time freedom now, don't you?
Ton more time freedom, ton more stability. How many times have you looked at your sales pipeline and you're like, man, if these deals close, like I have a coaching client, she's got 20 listings. And the thing she says to me today is, well, I hope they sell. Like, man, that sounds tough. Like, I would, what if your monthly income, what if just your car payment was covered by this? What if just your rent payment was covered by this? What if just your mortgage was covered by that? Right? Like, if I know people, one of my favorite stories is there's this girl who her husband was working this job that was it was just killing him. He just didn't want to do it anymore. But the reason they kept doing it is because he was the insurance provider for their family. And she had a small business. And so he got insurance, and it was like $3,000 a month. That was like the gap between him like leaving this job that was killing him and coming into the business and being in real estate and everything else. When she got her revenue share to $3,000 a month, he was able to make that transition. That transition like literally changed his entire life. It changed her entire life. It changed their family's entire life. Like, everything has been made different because of that. Like, it's not $30,000 a month for most people. For most people, it's $3,000 or $1,000, or 50% of bankruptcies in America wouldn't happen if people had an extra $500 a month disposable. Like, the bankruptcy line is a razor's edge and is a very small amount of money. So could you tell a couple friends about this great brokerage you work at and add an extra $500 a month to your income that might save your family when you have a really bad month or a deal falls out of escrow? Like, I've been there. I've been on the side of the road telling a client they had, like, on a family vacation in Yosemite, one of the most beautiful places on earth, pull over with my in-laws in the car just so I have cell phone service so that I can tell a client that they need to cancel a deal because it's the right thing to do, but knowing full well that that means I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage. Like I had to have that conversation. So until you have that conversation, you don't know how scary it can be to be in this industry and how much a little bit of extra income consistently could make a difference in your life.
That's so powerful, man. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's crazy how I don't want to say easy, but simple it is. Like when you understand the math, when you finally understand and see all this, because what in your first year right now, if you bring somebody on and they're a capper, they're a producer, I think it's like 4,000. I know that goes down drastically, but that's almost at that $500 level. So if you brought on two, boom, there you are. So like it can happen
That's the way I
very
look at it. I look at it as if you just brought on two cappers, two producers per year, just not one every other month like I did, but like if you just did two per year, one every 6 months, you're going to easily be making $500 right away. It's probably going to be closer to 1,000. And in my experience, nobody who's a capper or a producer comes by themselves. They always bring a friend or two. And so if you do that every year for 5 years, that's 10 agents in your front line. That's probably 20 or 30 in your second. It's probably 20 or 30 in your third. It's maybe 10 in your fourth, and maybe 5 in your fifth. That's a really nice start. That's like 75 agents. It's like 50. Yeah, that's like 75 agents right there. Just because you brought on 2 agents a year for 5 years and you were going to be selling houses anyway. Like, why is that
no
hard?
difference. No difference at all. And most times they're getting a better split coming over here too as well.
And I
Not to
never,
mention,
in 6 years, I've never had a single person call me and be like, why did you bring me to eXp? You ruined my life. I only ever get people who call me and say, this is life-changing. Thank you so much. Like, I mean, you should see like this girl, I would never know this girl. It's like, it's the relationships for me. It's not just the
yeah,
outcome, just the sales, but like so I brought on a guy named Joe Turco, who I had a personal relationship with. I kind of knew his friend Jeff. So we brought on Jeff together, but I didn't really know the guy. Jeff brought on this amazing woman named Jen. Jen runs this cool women's empowerment real estate tribe in Florida. Like she's amazing. And she's become one of my favorite people. I never would know Jen if it weren't for this opportunity. I would have no way to have a relationship with somebody in Florida selling houses at the level I do. The other day, because of eXp, this famous, you should talk to Gogo Bethke, but
oh, I know
Gogo,
her.
yeah, so Gogo and I were talking, and Gogo messages me after we get off the phone, and she has tickets to Oprah. And so I reach out to Jen and a couple other people, and I said, hey, my friend has tickets to Oprah. Do you want to go? And she calls me and she's like, you have no idea. Like my mom and I have had it on our bucket list to go to Oprah since I was a little girl. And she got to go to Oprah the other day. And she FaceTimed me from New York or wherever they were, and like was like, here's my mom, here's me. We just left Oprah. Like we got to touch her, like the whole nine. Like it literally was a bucket list, life-changing moment for her. That doesn't happen without eXp, and it certainly doesn't happen without revenue share, because revenue share is the thing that connects those dots. And like that's what I wish more people knew about this. Like, not that you could make money. Yeah, the money's great. Money's good for the good it can do, but like the relationship side of it, like that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, that is so awesome, man. Yeah, and you're so right. That's what I've been saying a lot recently in trying to put that message out there to other agents, team leaders, and brokers, because being a brokerage owner, I was a co-owner of a franchise, and it was great. I still love that company. I think they're a great company, but I finally realized the connections, the networking that I could get access to and reach out to, every agent in the country, all across the country, and not just the country, but the world, because we're in like 29 countries now.
Yep.
And the conversations, the doors, the access to information and knowledge and that I've learned from just being here in the short amount of time is, it's insane that at a level and scale that I never would have had if I never left where I was and stayed stuck there in my ego or whatever, because this was my baby or whatever the case may be. What are some excuses that you hear all the time that are complete BS about rev share and creating a downline?
I don't have time. That's the most common one. It's like, you show me your calendar, I'll show you your priorities. So I guarantee you have time. You're just not using your time effectively. It doesn't take a lot of time. It looks like inviting people to something you're already going to. Like if you're already going to it, it's already a class or something of value. Like why wouldn't you bring a friend? That's not hard. That doesn't take any extra time. I think people say like, people are going to think I'm a recruiter, or they're not going to want to talk to me or whatever. Like, sure, some, but like 13 agents join eXp every day that don't name a sponsor. They just go on the website and sign up.
Wow.
So it's not about talking somebody into this opportunity. Like I always tell people, I'm like, I'm not here to talk you into a good opportunity. Like I'm looking for people that are looking for opportunity. So if you're looking for change, if you're looking for growth, if you're looking for training, if you're looking, whatever you're looking for, like I might have it. And if that makes sense, then, I'm not recruiting you. I'm just giving you access to something that I already have access to.
That's awesome. Well, that answers my next question. I was going to say, is this actually hard to do, or do people just overcomplicate it? And it sounds like they do.
It's overcomplicated. I think the biggest thing is picking a few things that you're going to do consistently and then being consistent. I think the number one problem I see with agents is they try and do this once a month. It's like they try and go to the gym and work out for 8 hours and think they're going to get fit. And it's like, you can't go on the 24th of every month and kill yourself and then get a 6-pack. Like this is a daily thing. So if you can carve out a little bit of time every day to do some of the basics, some of the blocking and tackling, then you can be successful at this. And if you can't, then I would love to know what plan you have that's a faster vehicle. I always joke, like they have a plan, right? They want to sell houses and save money. So you sell houses, you have gross income, then you have expenses, then you have taxes, then you have net income, then you have your expenses on the personal side, and then you have whatever your savings is after that. You have to sell 40, 50, 100 houses, however many houses you have to sell to have whatever you're going to have at the end of the day. And when I talk to most agents, they almost have none. And so when we go that whole roundabout way, then you take whatever's left, let's call it 20 grand, let's call it 100 grand. What do you do with it? Well, I'd invest it. What'd you invest it in? I buy a triplex. Okay, 100 grand down on a $400,000 triplex. What's it cash flow? Nothing. And so it's not that you shouldn't invest in real estate. It's just you're taking your bike to Costco. Like, would you ever ride your bike to Costco with a backpack and be like, I got it, I'm good? It's like, yo, the Suburban's free. Like, it's available. You want to grab the keys and take the Suburban? No, I got my bicycle, I'm good. Like, that's what agents are doing every day. It's like, bro, back the Suburban up to Costco, fill it up with all your stuff and drive home with the air conditioning on. Like, you're making this way harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, definitely overcomplicate it. I mean, that's just naturally what we do as human beings. We overcomplicate every single thing, and then you get into it, you see how it works, and you get it working, and then you realize I'm an idiot.
It's a problem. People are not patient, right? Again, we're in a microwave society, so this takes time. And so people get bored of it quickly. They don't see it grow. They don't add 100 agents in 4 months. And they're like, well, I'm just going to go sell another house and make 10 grand. And it's like, yeah, you can keep doing that, but that's going to keep you right where you are. Another quote I love is, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. So you got to do something different sometimes.
Yeah, I'll add to that quote. I've got it on my sticky note right here on my screen. It says, if you keep doing what you've always done, what is it that you will not accomplish?
I love it. Yeah.
Love it. So if somebody's watching this right now and knows they need to build something bigger, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to get started. You're going to learn a lot by doing, so don't think about it. I'd say at the former brokerage I was at, they wrote a book, and the first line of the book says, sometimes like great action is required. You can't cross a chasm in 2 small steps. So sometimes you just have to like make the jump and like put yourself in the environment. If you're thinking about it, there's probably a reason that you're thinking about it. So I would explore that. And then most importantly, like get a coach or an accountability partner, ideally a coach, and be consistent, because consistency will trump massive effort all day long. A little bit of consistency over time is going to get you where you want to go. I've never seen anybody come in and do a ton of effort all at once and be successful. You have to just find a way to make it a part of like who you are.
Yeah, I think a lot of people quit and burn out because, like you said, we all are not patient. We expect something right now, but that's what I've learned over the past 8 years of being self-employed and being in this real estate business and owning a brokerage is you have to be patient and almost not think about it in the sense of, think about it to do the action, to take action, to do the steps, but don't think about the end goal so much that you obsess over it and you feel like it's going way too slow and that you're never ever going to get there. And so you end up just quitting.
Instead of do your other stuff, do your job, sell houses.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's like, give yourself 5 or 10 years. Like if you did this for 5 or 10 years and you got half of what you want your goal to be, your goal is $10,000 in 10 years. and 10 years later, you wake up and you're making $5,000 a month in passive income, would you be sad about it? It's still 5,000 more than you were going to make otherwise. Like, make it a small part of your life and do it over time, like mostly selling houses, a little bit of this. And then over time, as you tip the scales, you can rotate that. But, you know, gotta be something you do consistently and make a part of who you are.
Yeah, I would add to the end of all of that is the most expensive thing you can own is a closed mind. So
Yeah.
many people are not willing to just hear things out. That's one of the reasons why I've had the success I have, and I know the things that I know, is because I'm a big researcher, and anything I see, I'm clicking on it. I'm going to watch it. I don't care. Half an hour, 2 hours, couple hours. I'm going to learn something out of that. And so many people think that something's a scam, and there are scams out there, but there's always a nugget to learn, or a couple of nuggets to learn from everything. And slowly over time, you can put all those nuggets together and create a puzzle, right?
For
And
sure.
so everybody's so scared, or so ego about whatever, or whatever the case may be, that they just don't even want to listen. And I'm always willing to listen to anything. I don't feel like anything wastes my time. I mean, yeah, there are some things obviously, but you know what I mean. Like, I'm willing to listen, and I can usually tell, within the first part, if it's worth keep listening to or not, and then I can stop, wasting my time at that point. Well, Jon, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. But how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed the conversation. The best place is to follow me on Instagram. So my personal Instagram is at It's Jon Pugh, JONPUGH. And then my coaching Instagram is Agent Attraction Playbook. So if you type in at Agent Attraction Playbook, you'll find me with tons of free resources, and always happy to help anybody. Feel free to DM me on either, and I would love to chat.
And if you're watching this right now, I would absolutely tell you to go over to their Instagram, the Agent Attraction Playbook. I've been scrolling through everything, watching it, learning from it. They've got some great free resources and tools that you can just comment, and boom, they're going to hit you with it. And you guys have something coming up at the end of the month, don't you?
Yeah, we've got a boot camp coming up March 31st. So if anybody wants to check that out, it's going to be a half-day workshop, and it's going to be amazing. We'll get you from 0 to 60 in about 3 hours, so that you have everything you need in order to hit whatever your goal is.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you as well. Have a good one.
You too.